Hey everybody, hope you guys are all healthy and safe. So this is the Oppo Find X5 Pro. I've been using this phone for the past 2 weeks now. And this is Oppo's 2022 premium flagship. This phone basically packs and brings every tip-top component you can think of, except for one, which I'll get to pretty soon. And it also brings some innovations that Oppo has been developing, spending years to build. So let's look at the overall design first. This phone is very reminiscent of the Oppo Find X3 Pro. It brings back mostly that same design language. If you remember that phone, it had that camera bump that stuck out, but then it blended into the rest of the body. It's the same thing here. So you see that the camera bump eases into the body instead of, ending abruptly like most other phones. That's because this whole back piece is one piece of ceramic. This definitely takes more time to build than a traditional smartphone. Like a traditional smartphone, the camera island, it's actually part of the phone, and then you just have a glass piece that goes over the phone, and the glass piece will have a cutout where the camera island would go into. This is different. This is like a single piece that has covered the camera module, so it definitely takes a little bit more work to construct. And overall, the phone feels really curvy in the hand. So it feels really nice. I mean, I'll be honest, I like the in-hand feel of this phone better than the S22 Ultra by quite a bit, because S22 Ultra has these pointy corners that just don't feel comfortable in the palm. Likewise, the iPhone 13 Pro Max, it's just uncomfortable to hold. The sides are hard and sharp and just pointy all around. This thing, by comparison, feels like really curvy in the hand, and the ceramic feel gives it a unique texture. It feels like, like a piece of gemstone almost. The screen around the front, 6.7 inch LTPO 2.0 panel. So that means the display can vary its refresh rate, get as low as 1 Hz all the way up to 120 Hz. The display resolution is 3216 by 1440, so that's a WQHD plus resolution. And to be honest, to my eyes, the screen looks every bit as good as the Galaxy S22 Ultra screen. Like in terms of viewing angles, color reproduction, all that, they match up very well. Now I will say that the S22 Ultra screen gets noticeably brighter than the Find X5 Pro screen, but you really only, this will only matter if you're outside using the phone under heavy sunlight. If you're indoors and you just look at both of these screens, they look equally good. Now the phone weighs 218 grams and measures 8.5 millimeters in thickness. So it's a little bit heavier and thicker than last year's phone, but that's because there's a larger battery in here, 5,000 mAh battery. That, good news, can actually power this phone all day for me. I'm a very heavy user. I am on social media a lot. I'm always filming. I have Slack running basically 15 hours a day. So I'm a very heavy user, and most phones last year, the 2021 phones, could not last all day for me. So I'm happy to report that due to the larger battery and the improvement in the LTPO panel, this phone can now go 13 hours for me easily outside. I'll be out all day 13 hours and it would actually still come back home with 15% battery. If you want to charge this up, it tops up really fast. There's an 80-watt charging brick that's included with the package. 80 watts, so it's crazy. It'll charge this phone from 0 to 100 in 24 minutes from my testing. So inside is a Snapdragon 888 Gen 1 with 12 gigs of RAM, 256 gigs of internal storage. All the RAM and internal storage are the latest configuration. So UFS 3.1, LPDDR5. It's basically tip-top components everywhere except that one area, which again I will get to soon. Alright, now let's talk about the camera. So there's basically two main cameras around the back. There's a 50 megapixel main camera, a 50 megapixel ultra wide camera. Both of these are Sony IMX766 sensors. Both of these have an image sensor size of 1/1.56 inch. Now the main camera has a slightly faster aperture, f1.7 to the f2.2 in the ultra wide. But other than that, these are the exact same camera lenses for the main and ultra wide camera. That is great news because that means you get much closer quality between the main and ultra wide photos. And having an ultra wide camera that is on paper almost as good as the main camera is good news to me, because I use the ultra wide camera a lot and I dislike that on some phones like the Xiaomi Mi 11 Ultra or like an iPhone. The ultra wide camera is significantly weaker than the main camera, and this is really noticeable at night. If you take a photo at night with the main camera and then the ultra wide camera with the iPhone 13, you'll see that the ultra wide camera's image is much weaker than the main camera. That is not the case here. You can take a photo of main ultra wide and you crop into the ultra wide to kind of match the framing, and the two shots actually look pretty similar. Now the main camera is still going to be better because it has a faster aperture and there's just less area to cover, so you get sharper details. But overall, the ultra wide camera keeps up very well, and I'm pretty confident in saying that this is the best ultra wide camera in any smartphone right now, including the S22 Ultra's ultra wide, and definitely better than the iPhone 13's ultra wide. The main camera is also really damn good too. Now, both of these camera hardware, the main camera and the ultra wide camera, is actually identical to the hardware seen in the Find X5 Pro, like mostly identical anyway. There's like subtle improvements here and there, but for the most part, most of the improvements coming internally in the software and the new imaging chip inside. So the chip is called Silicon X, and it was self-developed by Oppo. Oppo spent years building this chip, and what it is it basically allows Oppo to control the entire image processing pipeline now. Now when this phone captures an image, it goes through Oppo's Silicon X before it then gets churned out and produce a shot for us to look at. Some other Android phones rely on whatever chip is used in the Qualcomm chip or MediaTek chip. So having your own chip is like the new frontier for smartphone brands as they take more control with image processing. And I'm happy to report that the main camera here is really damn good. I think for the most part it holds up very well with the S22 Ultra. In fact, a lot of times I think the Find X5 Pro's image has better HDR, but then at the same time, when you have HDR that's too good, it almost looks a little bit over processed. So it's arguable which photos look better between the S22 Ultra and the Find X5 Pro. If we're talking about the main camera, they're neck and neck. Unfortunately, the zoom lens here is a little bit weak, and this is the area that I kept teasing earlier about. This is the single area that's not a tip-top component. So the zoom lens here is just a 13 megapixel telephoto zoom with 2x optical zoom range. It's good for portraits, and if you do need to just zoom 2 times, then it's fine. But then anything beyond that, it's digital zoom. And when you go up to 10 times, the image is really soft. And I've just been spoiled by the awesome epic zoom lens here, where you can get a 10 times zoom lens from the S22 Ultra and it looks sharp. It looks like crisp enough that you can post on Instagram. Even the iPhone's telephoto zoom lens has 3 times range, so you can still get pretty decent 10 times zoom shots. So I think 2 times zoom in 2022 is just a little bit weak, considering this is Oppo's tip-top premium flagship offering. Now, video samples are really good too. Day and night, colors look great, dynamic range looks good. Stabilization, I do think it's not quite on par with the S22 Ultra and the iPhone 13 Pro. So it's a pretty good video camera, but not the best video camera. However, there's one more trick that Silicon X can do, and that is turn on ultra night video in 4K for the Oppo Find X5 Pro. So that means when you're shooting in pitch darkness, the Silicon X will use AI smarts to artificially put lighting into the video. So when you're shooting really dark scenes, the Find X5 Pro's videos will look brighter than what you get from the S22 Ultra or the iPhone 13 Pro. As you can see here, I'm going up these stairs into this really dark building, and the Find X5 Pro's video just looks a little bit brighter than the S22 Ultra's video. So overall, we have a main camera here that is one of the best, ultra wide camera that is absolutely the best, and a zoom lens that is a little bit weak, but then overall you still have a camera system that's quite good. And a 32 megapixel selfie camera up front too. It is what it is. I don't really care about selfies that much, but I mean, you judge for yourself. So the Find X5 Pro runs on Android 12 with Color OS 12 on top. I've already gone on like a dozen times about how much I like Color OS, so I won't really go on much more longer here. All you need to know is it's very customizable. It has all the shortcut gestures that you can think of, and it makes the phone very easy to use. I really like that you can control music playback without needing to wake the screen. Like, you can just control playback by just drawing gestures on the screen, and then you can play, pause, skip track directly just like that. There's also a new intuitive gesture to go into floating windows, so it just requires an exaggerated swipe up. So right now I'm in Chrome. If I swipe up and hold, it will launch into floating window. This is a very intuitive gesture, because on other phones like the S22 Ultra, it takes like 3 or 4 steps to do the same thing. So I'm gonna open web browser. If I want to float this window, I have to swipe up and hold to go into app overview, and I have to swipe back to the app that I want, long press on the icon, and then tap on open in pop-up view. So it took 4 steps just to do what one swipe could do on the Oppo Find X5 Pro. And this sums up Color OS for me. They just have a lot of shortcut gestures that make the phone easier to use. You can do things faster. Another example, you can grab a screenshot by just swiping down with 3 fingers. Isn't that a lot easier than needing to like long press the power and the volume button at the same time? So overall, I'm really happy with the Oppo Find X5 Pro. We have a beautiful screen, software that in my opinion is the best, is my favorite software, the best ultra wide camera, a really good main camera, and a really comfortable in-hand feel, and good battery life too. So the only thing here that I don't like is the zoom lens. Otherwise, I have no complaints. Like, in fact, when I'm done reviewing the S22 Ultra, I'm putting the SIM card back into the Find X5 Pro and making this my daily driver for the foreseeable future, because I just think this phone feels so much better in the hand than the S22 Ultra. However, when I'm using this phone, I will miss the epic zoom lens here, because this phone's zoom lens is just not good. So Oppo, please, if you have put a periscope zoom lens on this phone, this would be my favorite phone so far of the year and would for sure be my daily driver. As of right now, I can say it's probably going to be my daily driver, but if the Xiaomi 12 has better zoom, then I'll probably switch over to that. So that's about it for this review of the Oppo Find X5 Pro. I don't know the official pricing yet, but we know it's going to be around $1,000, $1,100. And I think it's a fair price considering this is a really damn good package. Yeah, so that's about it. I have a lot more content coming up, so please stay tuned. Thanks for watching.